Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know. We got a bunch of news to go through. We got to talk about the senior quarterbacks today. We're going to talk about our new offensive and defensive coordinators, which I'm actually pretty excited about after doing some in-depth research on both of these guys, and we're going to get into that today. Quarterbacks, obviously we're going to talk about Xavier Howard's Pro Bowl, so if you're all interested in that, hopefully you guys will stick around. I think we're going to do the quarterbacks last, though. So if you want to skip, you can. There's probably going to be a time code on the screen if you just want to hear about the quarterbacks. And obviously later we'll get into the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. But this first news story comes from NFL.com. Rarely do we do a story from NFL.com. Dolphins don't get a lot of mainstream attention. So this first news story, Dolphins expected to name Patrick Graham as their defensive coordinator. The Miami Dolphins don't officially have a head coach yet, but have zeroed in on a defensive coordinator. The DC of choice for future Dolphins head coach Brian Flores is expected to be Patrick Graham, the Green Bay Packers run game / linebackers coach. He's the run game coordinator / linebackers coach. NFL Network of Ian Rappaport reported on, I think this was Monday. With the New England Patriots heading to the Super Bowl, the Dolphins cannot announce the hire of Flores yet to assemble a staff. Last year, we saw the Indianapolis Colts compile coaches for Josh McDaniels, only to be spurned at the last second, leaving several behind when Frank Reich fully took the gig. Graham has spent the past 10 seasons as an NFL assistant. Flores has experience working with the 39-year-old Graham, who spent 7 seasons from 2009 to 2015 with the New England Patriots, climbing the ladder from defensive coaching assistant to linebackers coach to defensive line coach. Graham moved to New York as the Giants D-line coach for 2 seasons before working 1 year in Green Bay in 2018. So this is, dude, I'm not even joking around. I don't know what the other the only really good coaching staff that's been assembled is Tampa Bay's. Other than that, all of the other ones have not been that great. I can't really remember the Denver staff all that well. But when you talk about Arizona's, obviously the Jets, I mean, they literally just have our staff from last year, which is just god-awful, other than Greg Williams. We, in my opinion, have hired the second best coaching staff out of any of them. I mean, it's really hard to beat Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles, because I love Bruce Arians. He's one of my favorite coaches of all time, and everywhere he goes, I mean, he has a lot of success. So it's hard to beat that, but I'm really happy with it. If you guys don't know about Patrick Graham, watch the 2014 New England Patriots documentary, Do Your Job. It's obviously the Super Bowl year where Malcolm Butler picked off the pass, but we're going to talk about our offensive coordinator here in a second, Chad O'Shea, who I love this hiring. But Patrick Graham, Chad O'Shea, and Brian Flores are heavily involved in that documentary. And they do a lot of interviews. So if you guys want to know what their personalities are like, what their coaching style is like, how much success they've had in New England, go watch that documentary, because they had a huge impact, especially Chad, on that run to that Super Bowl. Seriously, you guys got to go watch that. I mean, Brian Flores, obviously, he did a really good job with the DBs that year, with Malcolm Butler, with Devin McCourt. I mean, all of them had such a big imprint on that year. It's a really good, it's 40 minutes long. It's a really good documentary, and you guys should go watch it. And both of these guys, again, Patrick Graham, Brian Flores, all three of them are heavily, had just their fingerprints all over him. So I like this hire. He has the New England background. I like that we're switching to a 3-4. Some players are going to be left behind because of that, but some I think can do a little bit better. So I love the hire. I really do. I really, really, really do. I mean, he's coached so many great. I mean, he got Dante Hightower. He coached him up. Patrick Graham is who I'm talking about. Jamie Collins. I mean, he's coached a lot of really good linebackers when they were younger players until where they are now. So he has a really good background. He did a good job up in Green Bay this year as their linebacker coach with, some of their 3-4 guys. The Farrell guy, I think his name's, I can't remember his first name. I know it starts with a K or C. I can't remember. But he had a really good year. Blake Martinez up there had a really good year. Everywhere Patrick goes, he's produced some pretty dang good linebackers. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that hire. Really good track record, a ton of experience. I like that a lot. Even though he's only 39, he's coached for a very long time and has coached some really good players. I'm very excited about that. So let's get into this next news story. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins likely to hire Pat's Chad O'Shea. The Dolphins are set to hire Brian Flores as their next head coach, and Flores is bringing some friends with him to South Beach. The Fins are expected to hire Patriots wide receivers coach Chad O'Shea as their new offensive coordinator, according to Omar according to Omar Kelly of the Sun Sentinel. Flores can't be formally hired until the Super Bowl, but his staff is already taking shape. He's reportedly tapped former Colts and Lions coach Jim Caldwell as his assistant head coach, and former Packers linebacker coach Patrick Graham will be the defensive coordinator. Flores and O'Shea have been working together since 2009. Kelly notes O'Shea is regarded as an up-and-coming offensive mind. Last year, O'Shea was believed to be a top OC candidate for Josh McDaniels' staff in Indianapolis, but he stayed in New England when McDaniels was elected to do the same. Last year, McDaniels he raved about Chad, saying, quote, "Chad is unbelievable. He's incredibly responsible for any and all of our success in the red zone. He does a lot of work and prepares us well for that situation in the game." He did such a good job with that 2014 team. He's coached, obviously he's the receiver. I mean, the man has coached so many good players there. You want to talk about turning water into wine. I mean, that's what all Chad did when he was in New England. I mean, turning into Chris Hogan into what he was, getting players mid-season in that receiver core and getting them acclimated to the scheme. Like, we're not mid-season, but during the season, like Josh Gordon. He's done such a great job. I mean, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, Wes Welker. There's so many receivers that New England has had Brandon LaFell, that have had good seasons with New England that go other places and fail. It's hard to even keep count of all of these guys. And Chad I'm so excited, dude. This staff is really good. And I'm not just saying that. I don't know if I can't tell you if Brian is going to be a great head coach or not, but he is surrounding himself with just really good coaches. I mean, Chad, Jim Caldwell, who's everywhere Jim has, as a head coach, by the way, and as an offensive coordinator, everywhere Jim goes, he has a ton of success. You think about what he did with Baltimore in that 2012 Super Bowl run. He was their offensive coordinator. He got the best out of Joe Flacco that year. That's the best offense they've had since he left. They haven't had even an equal amount to that offense, and that's what they've been searching for. You think about what Chad has done developing receivers down there. He does the red zone work. He works with the tight ends in the red zone. He does so much for that franchise. With their success and how they've been able to just kind of conveyor belt receivers out of there and have success with them. And that's been obviously what New England has done so well. Talk about Patrick Graham, Dante Hightowers, I don't know if he coached Kyle. I'm pretty sure he did, though. I'm pretty sure he did. I just don't want to say for sure. Jamie Collins, Landon Roberts. I mean, he's coached a lot of linebackers there that have given them obviously good playing time, and that anywhere else probably wouldn't work out. So they all have really good track records. And developing talent, and obviously Jim Caldwell. I mean, I don't even have to talk about Jim. I mean, you guys should already know. I just really, really, really like the mixture of success with experience. And I know that Brian is really old, Brian Flores, or not really. He's really young, not really old. But he's been coaching for 15 years. I don't care how old you are. That's a long time. 15 years in this business. He's developed a lot of good talent himself. He's obviously switched roles a lot there in New England, but he's done a great job as well. So this coaching staff is, in my opinion, let's just take Brian out of it, because I still like Adam. I think he's a good head coach, but let's take Brian out of it. In terms of the staff surrounding our head coach, it's way better than last year. I mean, Dallin Loggins hasn't had a shred of success in his career at all. At all. Everywhere he's gone, he hasn't had a ton of success. Obviously, Matt Burke. We already know Matt Burke sucks. I don't even have to talk about Matt Burke, and I'm not going to. The only half-decent coach on our staff was Darren, and he's I hope we get to keep Darren, because, again, our coaching staff, you know what this is going to bring? And this is what this coaching staff is going to bring to this franchise. It is going to bring attention to detail, fundamentals, and focus to the game of football. That is what this coaching staff is going to bring to Miami. Just everybody's going to be prepared. That is what this coaching staff is going to bring here. Because that's what they have all done since they've been coaches. Preparation, being prepared for every game, getting your players ready, elevate the talent that you have with your coaching ability, developing talent. All of them have done that in some way, and all of them, again, attention to detail, getting the team prepared. Penalties are going to be way down. Execution is going to be way better because of everybody's experience on this staff, and they know how to get it done on a consistent basis. I mean, these guys have done this for years on end. It's not just a one-hit wonder. These guys, I mean, to be fair, Adam he only won a lot of games for 2-3 years in Denver. These guys have done it for 10+ years, so they know what it means to be prepared, what it means to be consistent, what it means to execute each and every single Sunday. So I'm very excited about this. This coaching staff is legit. Will Brian be a great head coach? He's surrounding himself with people that can get the job done, just like Sean McVay did with Wade Phillips. You talk about Greg Olson, who's obviously I think he's the Raiders offensive coordinator now. He's surrounded himself with a lot of really, really good coaches, and obviously had John Fossil already down there, but we're doing the same thing, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Last news story before we get into the Senior Bowl and the quarterbacks, and I'm going to list a couple other players that don't play quarterback that I felt that played well. I did watch the game, so here we go. This last news story before we get into the Senior Bowl: Dolphins quarterback Xavier Howard records an interception in his return to the field during Pro Bowl. That's it. He picked off Dak, I think. Yeah. He should have had 2 picks, but of course, a New York Jet, Jamal Adams, had to ruin that for all of us and basically hit the ball out of his hands. He didn't mean to. Showed great sportsmanship, obviously. He knew he messed up, but should have had 2 picks. That's all I got to say. Xavier's a great player. Now, I know nobody was trying, but he was locked down all night. All day. That is probably the most boring. We got to fix the Pro Bowl. That's how we'll end this news story. Seriously, the Pro Bowl has to be fixed. I'm sick and tired. It's the most boring game on the planet Earth. They have got to turn it into flag football or something where people can actually try, and obviously try not to get hurt. All right, so let's get into the Senior Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into the Senior Bowl, I want to comment on something that I messed up on last week's episode that longtime listener Ron called me out on. Yeah, I basically named a bunch of people and got their positions totally wrong. The Wisconsin linebacker, his name is T.J. Warren, which would fit Brian's. That is a New England linebacker if I've ever seen one. I think his name is T.J. Warren. I actually might have totally forgotten his name as well. I got him mixed up with some guy. There's center from Wisconsin. I don't know. But this is on me. I'm not blaming this on you. This is on me. And I take full responsibility for being an idiot. But the way you wrote that, the positions out, I have never seen that in my life. Seriously. That was very confusing. And that was my bad. And I apologize for that. Again, I don't watch a lot of college football. And some of these guys in the Senior Bowl, I have no idea who they are, if I'm being completely honest with you. So I just watched the game. And I'm like, okay, this guy played well. This guy looks good. Read some stuff on some players. That's just the background before we get into the conversation. But again, I messed that up. I apologize. I didn't want to look like a complete idiot. I wanted to give an explanation for it. So people are like, why are we listening to this guy? He doesn't, he's retarded. I just wanted to give an explanation for that. Could still stupid, But again, never really seen that written out that way, and I got some players mixed up. The other guys I don't remember the names of, and that's why I got them. Like I was like in linebacker, and I've heard from different schools and stuff. Yeah, but I have no idea how half of these guys. I don't watch I don't watch this in depth of college football. Some of these smaller school guys. That's for sure. Very surface level stuff here, guys. But obviously the quarterbacks we know. But before we get into the quarterbacks, I want to list some guys that played really well that I thought. There were some corners that I can't remember. I would have to go back and watch the game, but they did a really good job, tackling. There was good cover corners, but I was impressed with how how they stuck their head in the run game as well. Just made some tackles, but so let me. I have a list here of the roster. Obviously, Isabella, the slot receiver. I think his name's not Andy Isabella, is it? I can't remember. Obviously, he had like 200 yards against Georgia, something crazy like that. He looked really good in the Senior Bowl. A lot of people comparing him to a Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. Maybe a little bit of a Cooper Kupp in there if I want to throw, but he's obviously a lot smaller than those guys. Not a lot, but just he's smaller. He's a lot faster too, and he still can set people up. The route running looked crisp. It looked like I was watching Wes Welker or Julian Edelman. That kind of separation on some of those routes is what he was getting. I loved that. It's so the short passing game is so, and to have that kind of a guy on your team is so valuable, especially if they get the ball in their hands. They can make people missing. Pick up a 3rd and 8 when they catch it 4 yards behind the first down is just invaluable. So then, I don't know how high. I don't know where his stock is right now. I couldn't tell you, but he was very impressive. There was another D lineman from Texas that I have written down here, and not to forget, but guess what? I forgot. Let's see here if I can't find him. Let's see here. I don't know if he played for the North or the South. This is stupid. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Big 12 defenses scare us all. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Okay, Charles, I can't pronounce his last name to save my life, so I'm not going to even attempt that. But he had a really good game, too. Defensive end out of Texas. Big, long hand. He's more of a 4-3 guy, I feel like. I don't know if he's more... I don't think he fits... Even though we're going to probably run a hybrid defense and run different fronts, I don't think he would fit what we're trying to do. I think maybe TJ Warren, hopefully I'm getting his name right, from Wisconsin, would be more of a fit. Like a TJ Watt kind of a guy would be more of what we're looking for. But, yeah, I thought he played really well. And he was some guy, he was somebody who stood out to me. So let's get into the quarterbacks. Enough of this chit-chatting around about this stuff. I mean, I guess we'll start with Daniel Jones. And I don't want to tell you I told you so, but, I mean, hey, you know what I'm saying? Daniel Jones, I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. The instincts it boggles my mind, his play style. He's a pocket passer with like Josh Allen, like physical abilities. It blows my mind. It's like Tannehill in that way. Like, you have this talent, but your play style is it just doesn't fit what God gave you, if that makes any sense. That's my only real hang up on him. I don't know if he's a good person. I have no idea. I don't know if he's a good lead. I don't know. Like, he's not very personal, like someone like a Drew Lock, who you're like, dude, he's like Brett Favre. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would go hang out with that guy. I don't know anything like that about Daniel Jones. I don't know if he's like a Baker Mayfield, like in that way. But I do know that he can run you over. He can fall forward. He's in my opinion, a polished pocket passer with little to no talent at Duke. A lot of drop passes. He's a great deep ball thrower, which he showed you. I think there was like a flea flicker play. He can place the ball deep wherever he wants it to be. Yeah, I just don't know if he has the instincts, like sensing pressure, doing the off the script stuff. He has the physical ability to do it, but when you watch him, he's like, dude, just cut out a little bit, roll out of the pocket, make some, especially in the red zone. Like, I need to see that. I need to see that, just that clock in your head, that just feel for the game that I just don't see, which is a big concern for me. Moving on from him, I guess we'll talk about Tyree Jackson out of Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why everybody's freaking out about Tyree Jackson. He is, nothing impressive in my opinion. He's just got a really big arm. His delivery and his release is so painful to watch, to the point, and it reminds me of Will Grier, who we're going to talk about here in a second. I mean, he doesn't remind me of Will Grier, but accuracy, big issue. I don't know if it's his release or he just can't make a read fast enough, but he was missing people wide open. So he made one deep pass. This is like Jay Cutler. He makes one play out of the year, and everybody freaks out about him. Like Tyree Jackson, I don't see consistency at all from him. He reminds me of like a Paxton Lynch kind of a guy, just a big arm with nothing else. He can run around a little bit, but I just don't see it. I just don't see a franchise quarterback there. Will Grier, I guess we'll talk about Will next. I really do not like Will Grier, and I will say it. I don't know how many times I got to say this, but there's nothing that he does that I'm impressed with. His release is painful to watch. I feel like it's. I just do not see a franchise quarterback in him at all. I just don't see it. He's accurate. He doesn't have a big arm. There was a play that, I don't know if he does this. I haven't watched a ton of Will Grier throughout his career. I've watched enough, though. But there was a play in the Senior Bowl where he kind of rolled out. He basically threw it up in the middle of the field, and I think Isabella came down with it. But the way he threw this up. He did not know where he was throwing this football. He dunked the pressure instead of just taking the hit and making the throw. If he took the hit and made the throw, then I would have been like, okay. Then he knew where he was going. He just dunked and threw it. And I was like, okay. Way to show some poise there. You know what I'm saying? But he does have a good feel for the game. I will give him that. He reminds me of just a scrappy quarterback. I feel like he can be a really solid player. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback, though. I think he could be a solid quarterback, maybe like a Brian Hoyer, someone like that, but definitely not a franchise quarterback. Drew Lock. This is where things get heated, I think, because there's a lot of Drew Lock fans out there. I don't know what to think about Drew Lock. I've said this before. The way everything that he does reminds me of Derek Carr to a T. His athletic ability, he's an athletic guy, but that's where his athletic ability is. It's not Tannehill, but it's Drew Lock. It's not Tannehill, but it's Derek Carr. He has that kind of escapability type stuff, extend plays in the pocket. He has that kind of arm that Derek had. He's accurate down the field. Despite his completion percentage at Missouri, he's pretty dang accurate. He has a very quick release. It's pretty to watch. People complain about his hands, which I'm like, who the heck cares? I feel like that's happening with a lot of quarterbacks lately over the years, and I mean, who cares? Especially if he plays in Miami. It definitely won't matter. But it turned me around, dude. It really did. The Senior Bowl turned it around. I feel like he can be a franchise. I really do. He reminds me a lot of Derek Carr. The way he holds the ball in the pocket, the way he moves around, his release, his ability, his literal physical talent, the way he can push the ball down the field, all of that reminds me of Derek Carr. He wasn't super impressive, and I thought to myself, you're doing this. You can make the same argument for Drew Lock that you can make for Daniel Jones. He did not have the greatest talent around him. He played in the SEC. Everybody was more talented than his team was, for the most part. Literally, almost everybody. He played really good games against people like Kentucky, who had the better team. So you can make the same argument for Drew Lock that you could for Daniel Jones. To me, Drew Lock and Daniel Jones, this Senior Bowl did a lot for me in terms of the quarterbacks. If I had to pick one, and I'm not even joking around, if I had to pick one, who the heck would I have more confidence in? I would probably say Drew Lock, because I really liked Drew Lock last 2 years ago. And then he decided not to come out. He went back for another year. I thought he would be really good later round selection. I have there's something about Drew Lock that I'm like, it's there. It really is. I think he probably will be a franchise quarterback. The more I think about it, he reminds me so much of Derek Carr. To me, they're very similar. I just see that in him. So yeah, Daniel Jones is just more of a question mark. I don't know what the heck, physically gifted, really good pocket passer in my opinion. But does he have the instincts? Can he sense the pressure on a consistent basis? Can he be the guy who elevates talent around him? I don't know. But Drew Lock, I feel like, can do that. I think he can put the ball in the right place whenever he wants to. I don't think that's a problem for him. He can push the ball. Obviously, he can push the ball down the field. He can make every throw in the book. Seems like a good leader. Seems like a really cool dude. I don't see it. To be honest, it was just the inconsistencies in his last year. Obviously, his stats went down a little bit from touchdowns to interception ratio. The scheme was a little bit different. A lot less screen game stuff. I just, there was some but Alabama's Alabama. I really feel like the reason I didn't like what I saw from Drew Lock was because of the same reason that Daniel Jones doesn't have more numbers than he should. It's just the talent around him, and I guess I really just didn't give him enough credit for that. But I really like Drew Lock. He's done a lot. The Senior Bowl, just watching more of him, and especially getting to see him pass to people that are talented. Because there was a touchdown that he put a ball. I mean, he put it on him and he just dropped it. It was a deep throw in the middle of the field, threw it low and away into a hole, like a tight window. So to see him do that, I was really impressed. And to be honest with you, he's moved up. He's moved up the ladder. If I had to be honest. I love Daniel Jones too. I just don't know, man. I don't know. But he looked really good. So Daniel looked really good. I think this quarterback class is a lot better than people. I mean, you talk about Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray. There's some good quarterbacks in this class. They have a lot of potential. So yeah, I'm very impressed. Very impressed. This last news story, it kind of ties into what we were talking about. It comes from Dolphins Wire. How did some of the Dolphins quarterback targets do during the Senior Bowl? Daniel Jones won the Senior Bowl MVP as he threw for 115 yards and 1 touchdown. Some draft analysts have Jones going to the Dolphins at the 13th overall pick. Let's see here if we can't find Drew Lock. Drew Lock, who talked to the Dolphins' legendary quarterback Dan Marino earlier this week, also had some highlight plays in his first quarterback. That's weird. That must be a typo. We'll say in his first drive. In his first drive, Lock completed an underhanded pass to Tommy Sweeney, a tight end out of Boston College. Lock finished the day 9 for 14 57 yards, and a quarterback rating of 98, and he also should have had a touchdown, but it was dropped, and a lot more yards because it was a deep pass. But he has that it factor that you look for in a quarterback, that spontaneous play that you look for, like a Russell Wilson or a Derek Carr to a certain extent, the Brett Favre type stuff that you're like, he can do that kind of stuff that a franchise quarterback does that elevates talent. He can roll out and throw a 60-yarder on a dime if you wanted to. He really could do that. Is he intelligent? Can he make fast enough reads? Can he take, does he have the poise? Does he have all the other stuff up here in your head? The work ethic, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Obviously, there's no way I could know. But he definitely has that spontaneous factor, that football instinct that you look for, and he also obviously has the physical gifts to be a franchise quarterback. All right, we'll get into the fan Q&A, and we're not doing. Well, I don't know how long this episode will be. Who the heck knows? But I do want to know you guys' feedback on the quarterbacks. Who would you take? I know there's a lot of Will Grier fans out there. I don't know why. I don't get it. Don't see it. I think the other guys are leaps and bounds better, in my opinion. I think you can make an argument that Ryan Finley is a better prospect than Will Greer. So let's get into the fan Q, and that's just my opinion. But, yeah. And I do think this class is going to be a lot better than people give it credit for. This always happens. Sometimes it doesn't. I mean, the Christian Ponder, was it Andy Dalton? Maybe not. No. I think it was the year before. The Christian Ponder, Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert draft, that was bad. And people were hyping up Blaine Gabbert pretty good, too. So a little, I don't know if we should do a big topic. I really don't have too much of a big topic today. You know what? I was thinking maybe we would do one, but I think we'll just get into the fan Q&A. But this episode's going to be pretty short. Unfortunately, because I'm an idiot and totally forgot to do the fan Q&A, and we only have 9 questions. Literally uploaded it 30 minutes ago, probably. We're a little bit to an hour ago, because I completely forgot to post one. So that's my bad. So let's get into the fan Q&A, ladies and gentlemen. This first question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, thoughts on Xavier getting a pick in the Pro Bowl? Yeah, it's the Pro Bowl, dude. It's kind of... It is what it is. Pro Bowl is not really... It was nasty out there. Let's just say that. I mean, that was a terrible game. Corporate Gamer said, should we trade Tannehill to Washington for Josh Doxson? No, I would rather get draft picks than Josh Doxson. If I'm not mistaken, played for TCU. Obviously, the reason he was drafted so high is his 50-50 ball ability, and you've seen some of that in the NFL, but not enough of it. Not consistent, not a very good or just consistent football player, which tells me probably not the greatest football mind and how to get open each and every single week. So, yeah. This next question comes from Ron. He says, early reports had Brett, but I think it's Bolima. It's a weird way. I can't remember how it's... I think it's... let's just call him Brett. Joining the Dolphins coaching staff in some form. Now, some reports are he will become the new DC for New England. Which is it? Patrick Graham will be the defense coordinator for the Dolphins. Yeah, and it's looking like Brett will be the defense. It was a long time for Greg Schiano was going to be the new the Patriots New England the Patriots coordinator, but yeah, we'll see what I don't care. I don't really care what happens with that, but yeah, it's looking Patrick Graham will be our guy. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, if you had to choose between TJ and Rashad, who would you choose? Rashad's a better player. He's more talented. And if used right, can be a really good player. Does he fit Brian Flores' scheme, though? No. Do you really never see Devin McCourty or Duron Harmon on the line of scrimmage? Very rarely. They're usually too deep. It's a too deep look. A lot of press, a lot of man, really covering all the gaps up front. It's basically what you see from a New England defense. You rarely see that single high safety look. Unless it's Patrick Chung, who's more of their box guy. But, see, that's the thing about New England. They switch up the personnel so much. Does Rashad fit this scheme? Or does TJ really, for that matter? It's hard to really say. I mean, we'll see, but both of them do not have the same free safety ability that someone like a Duron Harmon or a Devin McCourty has, that are just really good coverage players that cover a lot of ground and are smart. You really don't see a lot of busted coverages, but who knows? Rashad Jones could play completely different with someone like Brian Flores. He had bad coaching. Stuff like that factors in. And he hasn't had a lot of consistency since he's been a Dolphin, unfortunately, because this organization is retarded. So we'll see what happens with him. But if I had to choose between the two, I would choose Rashad. They're the same type of player, but Rashad is more talented. He's got better ball skills, better instincts. To me, he's a better tackler. I feel like TJ goes for the big hit a lot. Rashad wraps up. So I would go with Rashad Jones. Let's see here. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, Daniel Jones won the Senior Bowl MVP. Thoughts? It's an all-star game. Everybody's playing pretty hard, though. I thought he looked really good. And it's really nice to see, like I said before, quarterbacks like Drew Lock and Daniel Jones get to be in an all-star game because they have a lot of talent around them and they can take advantage of it. I felt like both of them did that. So it was really good to see that. It was really good to see, them be matched up with talent like that and see how they produce. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this. If they both went out there and stunk it up, then we're, like, obviously, I feel like it would pretty much be like, okay, we kind of get it now. But it was really nice to see that, and it really gives me hope for this draft, that there are talented guys in this draft. They're just not big names like Deshaun Watson. They're not the 800 yards passing in a game Patrick Mahomes in the air raid offense at Texas Tech. They're not those flashy guys, but they are talented, very talented. But they just played at bad schools and bad situations. I mean, Duke's one of the worst teams in the ACC for years now, if not the worst. And then you talk about Missouri, which is just a dang steamroll school for SEC teams to just beat up on. So it just, it's tough. But they're both very talented. It's going to be very interesting. I would not be surprised if they won the hearts and minds of Dolphins people in the building. This next question comes from Tony. He says, do you think we will draft O-line early or in the mid-rounds? I've heard from a lot of people that are smarter than me in terms of scouting and stuff of that nature, that it's very top-heavy in terms of offensive linemen. Like, there's not a Quentin Nelson. There's not a Zach Martin. Someone in terms of the interior that you would take where we're at. So I would say the mid-rounds for sure. I don't think you're going to see an offensive lineman wear a Dolphins uniform in the first round. The guy from Alabama is apparently the undisputed champion when it comes to an offensive lineman who's going to be a top 10 pick. He plays tackle, don't need one. So it's looking like hopefully this is the approach we take. I want to re-sign Juwan and just stack, because there's a lot of really good Big Ten offensive linemen from Wisconsin. I think there's some from Iowa as well. Or is it Iowa State? I get those two mixed up a lot. The Hawkeyes, that team. They always produce really good offensive and defensive linemen. And the Hawkeyes actually have a really good defensive lineman, too, who had a really good Senior Bowl as well. And had a really good season at Iowa. And they always produce, you talk about Mike Daniels. They've always produced really good linemen. The Green Bay and northern teams usually take. But back on track here. There's a lot of good Big Ten, big meaty dudes in the middle that you could take in the later rounds that could be productive for you. So I would say mid-round. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, I see these dumb mock drafts having the Dolphins taking a DT when we have a good DT and nose tackle. This is a good point. Here's what I want to. I'm gonna lay down the law right now. I've seen that as well. Unless it's Colin Farrell, it's not Colin. It's something else. I don't think it's Colin. That's Colin Farrell, the actor. You guys know who I'm talking about. The defensive end from Clemson. I can never remember his name. I can't remember anybody's name. To be honest with you, memory's going each and every single day. But he's a good player, man. He's a really good player. If there's any D lineman we're going to take, it should be a pass rusher, not a defense. There's only one man in the NFL who's a straight-up feared defensive tackle who can rush the passer each and every single season, and that's Aaron Donald. Other than that, you're pretty much looking at I mean, Fletcher Cox can do it. Gerald McCoy, I guess, but he's not really that consistent. But there's not that guy. I want to like I said, like people like T.J. Warren, those tweener linebackers is what we're looking for. I disagree with that. If you're looking for, I agree that what you're saying. I don't think we should take an interior guy. That's really, really worked for a lot of teams. You think about Vita Vea, the Buccaneers, Deshaun Hand, Sheldon Rink. Those players have been good, but I don't know if they're first round. Like, that's not a cornerstone building block of a player that we're looking for. So I don't think that's something we need to do there. I feel like, there are going to be players there, hopefully, that will drop because of quarterbacks. And if that does happen, then I think there are going to be a couple guys that we could look into. But if you're looking for a DT, look at free agency. You talk about Malcolm Brown, Marcus Hunt from Indianapolis, who's a really good underrated run stuffer. Grady Jarrett, who's going to get paid because he's a really good player. Those guys are proven DTs that you can plug and play and will give you the same kind of production that you would look for in a rookie first-round defensive tackle. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says, if we go to a 3-4, should we keep Cam Wake to play defensive end? He can't do that. He's too small, so... And his play style, he's more of a pass rusher. Maybe on a situational... excuse me. If I can talk. Throat hurts. On a situational basis, yes. You could probably just split him out and have him rush the passer. But the Patriots switch their fronts up a lot. There are some traditional 4-3 guys that they have, like Dietrich Wise. You talk about Trey Flowers, those kind of guys. They switch up their fronts a lot in New England. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's more of a hybrid defense than it is a 3-4. I wouldn't be surprised if we did some of those kinds of things with Cameron Wake, if we kept him. Here's one more question here that we didn't get to. It's a good question. If this thing... What the heck is wrong with this thing? Okay. Stuff is crashing, guys. I apologize. Okay, here we go. Oh, this could... See, we missed one. I know we missed one. This question comes from Gamerific. He says, is Charles Harris a bust? This is, as Shrek would say, this question has layers, because... Is he a bust? Yes. If you had to ask me right now, because of his production, is he a bust? Yes. Did he have good coaching? No. He had terrible coaching. Seriously bad coaching on the defensive side of the football. A lot of bad mentors, too, when you talk about some of the stuff that he saw in Miami. Then, we had people snorting cocaine, Lawrence Timmons saying, I don't have to play football for you guys, I want to go play for the Steelers. Stuff like that is such a bad, it's just bad, for a young player to come in like that. I think this is going to be a new fresh start for him, turning the page. He's going to be able to stand up and rush the passer, which is what he did in Missouri. So hopefully that helps him. He's not a New England outside linebacker, though. He's not Rob Ninkovich. He's not Chandler Jones. He's not, Kyle Van Noy, Dante Hightower that sometimes, protect the edge. He's not Willie McGinnis. He's not that stout guy who can do it all and can dominate on the edge, can set the edge for your defense. He's not that guy. He cannot set the edge for your defense unless he works on that. He is a situational pass rusher that we took in the first round. Can he evolve into someone who has an all-around game, who can be that kind of a guy for us? Probably not. Probably not, because we haven't seen that from him. I mean, he was getting dominated by Charles Clay, like Charles Clay was a tackle in pass pro. So that's a problem. That's a big problem. Hopefully, coaching can change some of that, and we can utilize him in better ways. But he is something about us in defensive linemen in general and Dolphins history in the first round has always been pretty bad if you think about it. We've had some busts over the years. You talk about Deion Jordan, possibly Charles Harris, Bosa, Joey's and Nick's dad back in the day in the 80s. So there have been some misses when it comes to defensive linemen in the first round. So yeah, that's an issue. So I'll save this for the end. Again, who knows? Charles Harris, hopefully we can get him rolling at some point. But again, he just really isn't that kind of a New England grit and grinder. Good still, he's not that guy. And you guys know what I'm talking about. He's just not that kind of a guy. He can't set the edge on a consistent basis. Hopefully we take someone like that, like a TJ Warren, and who can be. I swear to God, I hope I'm getting his name right. I might Google that while I'm talking. But yeah, he I might be getting him mixed up with someone else. Hang on a second. Alright, but as I Google this and make sure that I'm not being a total idiot again when it comes to college football, which I have done a lot on this channel, a lot. But I'm going to talk about the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. Really quick. I just want to make some quick predictions. I thought that would be fun, and I saved it for the end because nobody wants to hear this. Okay. Yeah, I think I got his name wrong. Because when I just googled TJ Warren, and it was like football or basketball player from, God, good lord, Wisconsin. Anyway, I wanted to do some. Good God, guys! What in the God's name? I got his name wrong. TJ Edwards, that's his name. That's his name. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's TJ Edwards. Let me look up his stats real quick. I'm pretty sure he had like 11 sacks. Yeah, he had 11 sacks last year. 11 and a half. That, to me, fits what we're looking for in terms of a New England style guy. Can set the big stout dude, rush the passer, make plays. Physical guy, saw a lot of pro style offenses in his division. I like that. All right, so yeah, it's TJ Edwards. See his draft stock real quick. But that would be a perfect later round pick in my opinion. Let's see here. What's the draft stock looking like? Okay, I can't really find it. This is according to some weird site. If we can't. He is the 6th ranked. No, hang on a second. 7th ranked. He weighs hang on. God, the loading screen's here. He weighs 247. Projected 40 time 4.8 40, which is pretty good. Edwards amassed 113 tackles with 11 and a half. Oh, wait. 113 tackles with 11 and a half for loss, 3 sacks, 2 passes broken up, and 3 interceptions in 2018. He put together underwhelming performances in the losses to BYU and Michigan, but played better late in the season, including the bowl game versus Miami. According to NFL teams' preseason data provided by team sources, Edwards checks in at 6'4", 247 pounds. Edwards is an instinctive defender who is a physical presence in the tackle box who is also a dangerous in zone coverage, consistently putting himself in position to make plays on the ball. As a junior, he recorded 81 sacks with 11 for loss, 2 sacks, 7 breakups, and 4 interceptions. In 2016, Edwards had 89 tackles. Okay, here we go. 89 tackles and 3 picks, 8.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 passes batted. A total of 84 tackles with 4 pass breakups as a freshman. I'm pretty sure he had 11 sacks, but I could be wrong about that. So I guess it was 11 tackles for loss, not 11 sacks. But yeah, again, that description, that was a draft description. That fits what we're looking for in terms of a New England style linebacker. I think the projected rounds were 3 to 4, somewhere in there. That to me, it's a perfect 3 to 4 round pick. to me. Productive player, fits the scheme well. Played in faced a lot of pro style offenses. Really productive, can play coverage, plus can set the edge in the run game. That to me is exactly what we're looking for. All right. Anyway, as we go down that road, that's who I got him mixed up with. I'm not even joking. I called him T.J. Warren for this entire. So yeah, that goes to show you. Anyway, we'll do some Super Bowl picks real quick. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, it's obviously I'm rooting against New England. Clearly, it's a lot harder to do that this year because of the blown call. I really do believe that Drew Brees should be taking snaps in the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna. Obviously, everybody's talked about it, but you get that pass interference there. You run out the clock, kick the field goal, go home. Even if they got the ball back, they would have very little time with no timeouts. Unless it didn't sound completely messed up, that's a pretty easy victory. Especially in your home stadium with the crowd behind you, that's real easy. So, that's unfortunate. It's really hard to root for one or the other. But I feel like the Rams... If I was Spock from Star Trek and I had to answer this with logic, without emotion behind this, and just gut feel, I would say the Patriots are going to win this game. But... since I'm a Dolphins fan and I'm not Spock from Star Trek, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams. It's going to be really interesting to see how Sean McVay does against New England's defense and how Jared Goff plays. It really is. Because New England, especially this year, and really over the last 3 or 4 years, they've had one of the best running offenses when they really want to. It's been one of the more unstoppable parts that I've seen in a very, 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 very long time. Seriously, that running attack is ridiculous. That offensive line is really underrated. So underrated. I feel like they've been the best all year, especially in the running game. That's going to be a very big problem for Los Angeles. That's the biggest mismatch. They're not going to be able to stop that. And if they do, God bless America. But if they don't, then the New England Patriots this is going to be a close win for them, for sure. But again, I think if the Rams want to win this game, they're just going to have to do all the things that I talk about us doing well against them. Get pressure on Tom Brady and finish in the red zone. That's really what you have to do. Get off third downs when you have the opportunity to. And that's obviously get pressure on Tom Brady. And don't hurt yourself. And Sean McVay's teams are always well prepared. It's a very underrated aspect. You really rarely ever see them commit penalties at all. So that shouldn't be a problem for them. It's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be a fun Super Bowl, but I feel like in terms of personnel versus personnel, style versus style, New England definitely has the advantage, but can Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh help them in that department? We'll see. Because to me, throw statistics out of the window. When you watch New England play, I've never seen I haven't seen a more dominant running attack in the NFL all year. It's real nice when you just spam the run all the time when you're like someone like Seattle or Dallas, and eventually you pop one, but most of the time you're getting 2 to 3 yards a pop. When New England wants to kill you with the running game, they murder you. And Gronk, I know people are hating on my guy for all the reasons that they should, because he's not as productive. But he has been so good in the trenches this year. One of the greatest years for a tight end in the trenches, in my opinion. There have been times where he's completely taken defensive players like D Ford out of the play in pass pro. He has been so dominant in the running game as well. It's ridiculous. I mean, look at all the snaps that he took against Kansas City. I mean, he's just been dominant in the line of scrimmage this year. Not so much catching the ball, but if you wanted to stay in this offense for another 2 to 3 years and just block, you could do that and be the most dominant line of scrimmage tight end in the NFL, and one of the greatest I've ever seen as a fan, blocking up front for his team. So I'll make a prediction. I got the Rams winning in reverse out of Vinatieri style, except this time Greg Zuerlein hits the game-winning field goal, and Jared Goff goes down the field and wins the game for Los Angeles by 3. That's my prediction. But I could definitely see Tom lifting the 6th trophy for sure, especially if they can't stop the run. So that is going to be it, guys. I am Skaggs1383. Throat hurts real bad for some reason. And yeah, it's looking up, guys. I really do feel like the quarterback class is a lot better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. Coaching staff's really looking nice. I like it a lot. So yeah, I'll see you guys. Can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Excuse me. Definitely want opinions on the quarterbacks. What did you see? Who do you like? Yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next one.